But first, good news. Now, I don't know about you, but I was moved by Independent MP Dai Lee's first speech in Parliament today after being elected in May, and partly because she wore an Australian flag on her traditional Vietnamese dress. Now, it's not that I particularly love people wearing flags or symbols or slogans on their clothes. It's a little bit out there for me, but it really is more that by doing that in our Parliament, Dai Lee fought back against the shaming of this symbol of our nation. And that shaming to me has been really disturbing for a long time. Maybe to you too. I mean, we now have artists who can get a cheap round of applause on the ABC for saying that people who have draped themselves in the flag like that must be racists.
There's so many racist bigots in this country, and they're everywhere. And it's like, I don't know about, like I was talking to someone earlier about this, but the Australian flag to me has now become, I identify that with racism. Does anyone else?
Well, that's going to be...
In fact, the Greens in our Parliament are so ashamed of our flag that they refuse to even have it flying behind them. They claim it really is a symbol of racism, of a country of shame.
Stand in front of the Australian flag. Why is that?
Well, I think we've got a lot of work to do in this country to tell the truth. We've got a lot of work to do to overcome the racism and dispossession that many First Nations and Torres Strait Islander and Indigenous people face. We should start to fly the First Nations flags in Parliament. It's time to understand that the history of this country and the symbols that represent the history of this country are very hurtful to the First Nations people of this country.
It's so ironic. He won't stand in front of the Australian flag because this is racist, but will stand in front of two flags that symbolise race, the Aboriginal one, Torres Strait Islander one. You figure that out. In fact, our elites are so ashamed of our national flag and so disunited under it that our Prime Minister now flies three flags behind him, including that Aboriginal one, that Torres Strait Islander one, as if the Australian flag is too tainted and divisive to represent us all. I can't think of any other country in the world that flies three separate flags because it's too ashamed of the real one, not one. So it was great to see this new MP, Dai Lee, show no shame in our flag. Instead, pride and gratitude. But she actually went beyond even that. She did something I think is even more important. See, the haters say our flag symbolises racism, genocide, blah, blah. Dai Lee in her speech today did not say that. This former refugee associated the Australian flag instead with the wonderful freedom and the opportunity that Australia really does offer. The freedom and opportunity is in fact so inspiring that Dai Lee's mother, with her two daughters, fled communist Vietnam in a small boat and risked death at sea to get here and find these great things that this country offer. Dai Lee was just 7. I love this story.
And the one moment on the boat when I turned around to look back at my birth country to try and comprehend what was happening and just saw a big black smoke in the distance. I remember the moment when I thought we would die when a huge storm hit our boat. I remember my sister V and I hanging on to our dear life while my mother held my other sister tightly in her arms with her rosary beads spraying. I remember being soaking wet, lying under the tarp as the ocean hit us and the rain poured down. I remember how my face almost hit the ocean as our boat rocked so hard from the storm. And I remember my mother's warning that I had to hold on to my sister in a plastic canister just in case the boat would tip over so that until we could find one another. Trying to peer through the tarp, all I could hear was the storm and was terrified we couldn't survive because none of us could swim.
Dai Lee's father, the lawyer who worked for the Americans before the communists took over, stayed behind. She never saw him again. But what she did see when she got here was an Australia that I recognised too. My parents recognised it as well when they came here as immigrants as well, more than 60 years ago.
I remember the years in refugee camps, dreaming of being able to lie on a proper bed, to have a proper home, and to go to a proper school. I remember the moment when we were accepted to be resettled as refugees in Australia, known to many back in refugee camps as the island with the best education system in the world. And remembering, as we stepped out of Kingsford Smith Airport, the feeling of gratitude and freedom. We were filled with hope as we looked out onto the horizons of endless possibilities. Australia, you welcomed my mother, my family, with open arms.
And now here she is, a politician in the parliament of this great country. And in that parliament, her supporters today cheered and cheered, chanting her name. You know, there was a time, and maybe you remember it as well, when Australians were taught to respect, even love the symbols of this free country. For decades now, it's been fashionable to instead trash Australia and its symbols and its history, to even cancel its national day as too shameful to celebrate. But Dai Li, refugee, now Member of Parliament, today reminded us again that no, you wait. Australia does offer so much. And here is one refugee who knows it, who has lived it, and is grateful. And in saying that, she reminds us that gratitude unites us much, much tighter, inspires us much, much more than does anger. So to Dai Li, I say thank you.